Okay. I hope I am audible. Please type a yes if I am audible. Obviously, those who can't hear me can't type a yes. Okay. 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 So yeah, great. So we are getting a yes continuously, perfectly fine. Okay. 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 So this is slot 1 and 2 analysis combined. Fortunately, both the papers were very similar, so it is not an issue at all. Okay. Okay, so we let's get started with this. You have seen the paper. You have already gone through it, so we'll not waste time in terms of discussing the question types and so on and so forth. Let's quickly go to the most important thing. The reality is it was not as difficult as many of us expected it to be. Paper was very similar in terms of structure to the mock CAT paper which was given on the website, and in terms of degree of difficulty, almost similar to last year, except DILR. So when it talks about Quant or when it talks about verbal RC, I'm sure none of you would be disappointed with this. And this is a section which I think is going to be the section which is going to be the one which troubled most of you, and would possibly be the difference between people who get a call or don't get a call. Okay. Very quickly, good attempts. Verbal about 27 to 28, DILR about 16, Quant 25 to 27, and aggregate of about 70 plus would have been very good. Just to give you an idea, in CAT 2014, this good attempt would have been about 80. So there's a shortfall of about 10 questions out here. Now, why has it fallen down? Verbal and Quant are almost the same in terms of degree of difficulty. But one problem which is there, we have non-MCQs. For example, para-jumbles which are MCQs are very easy to solve. Para-jumbles which are non-MCQs become extremely difficult. You can't eliminate choices, and getting the right combination is very difficult. So if there are 4 para-jumbles, you'll possibly attempt only 2. And out of them, most probably only 1 is going to be right. So attempt fall in a normal course, out of 4 para-jumbles, you'll do all 4. Now it is going to be 2. Okay, so that is one issue. The second thing is, most of you would have completed the verbal section something like 50 to 55 minutes, and you would have 5 to 10 minutes spare, which you have not been able to utilize anywhere. Similarly, DILR, most of you would have wasted about 10 odd minutes because you did whatever you could, and then you were moving around the section trying to find a set to solve, and those 10 odd minutes you can't use anywhere else. Last year, this was not the issue because it was one single section of 170 minutes. One single paper with no sectional time limits. So these 20 odd minutes could have been utilized somewhere or the other. So it is the non-MCQs, and it is the fact that you can't move across sections which has probably led to reduction in the overall number of attempts which are considered good for this paper. Okay, let's look at each of these sections in terms of degree of difficulty. Verbal ability, reading comprehension, easy, and DILR, easy to moderate to difficult. Let me explain this. Out of the 8 sets of data, I would say 2 of DI and maybe 2 of LR. These 4 sets would have been doable or easy to moderate. They will fit into this. And the remaining 4 would fit into DI, would fit into the category of moderate to difficult. So when we are looking at DILR, to me, it is a 3-4-5 phenomena. Okay. It's a 3-4-5. Juhi Dhamija, can you please switch off your mic? Rakesh, can you just switch off Juhi Dhamija's mic? Okay, great. Okay. So for me, DILR is a 3-4-5 phenomena. 3 was an at-par attempt. Most of the people would have been able to do 3. Anyone does less than 3, then he or she is in trouble. 4 is what would be a good attempt. 5 would be outstanding. Yes, I am sure there must be a few who would have done 6 sets or so and done 24 odd attempts. But by and large, this paper had 4 difficult sets in DI and LR and 4 doable sets in DI LR. and it was not as if they were very very clearly visible. You had to go through the paper, you had to go through the sets and pick them up. Okay. Quant, medium. When I say medium, last year it was easy. Why am I saying medium? Last year, out of the 34 questions, you had maybe about 3 to 4 questions which were difficult or which required some effort. This year, out of 34 questions, we have probably 6 to 8 questions which are slightly difficult, and in addition to that, you have non-MCQs. When you have non-MCQs, that means you need to put in a little extra effort, you need to do a little more work in the paper, and hence it becomes a little more time consuming. Okay. So broadly, when I'm looking at this paper, 27 to 28 attempts in verbal ability, Quant 25 to 27, so about 55 attempts between these two sections, and about 16 attempts in DILR. That adds up to about 70 odd attempts. So anyone who's done around 70 attempts with reasonably good accuracy, I would say, has done a good job of this paper. Could you have done more? Yes, you could have taken you could have taken verbal ability, reading comprehension to 32 to 34, almost all. Quant, you could have gone to about 30 to 32 attempts. But going beyond 16 attempts in DILR would have been reasonably difficult. Yeah. So quickly going through the sections, I am sure this was not a problem. Most of you would have attempted about 18 to 21, 3 to 4 sets of data, 3 to 4 RC passages. I'm sure some of you have done also all 5 passages. The problem in reading comprehension always is that the choices are closed, and while you confidently mark an answer, it is only later you come to know that there is an incorrect answer which you have marked. But the good thing about RC was they were easy to read passages. Almost everything was easy to read. Okay. But when you go to the question, it was not that all the answers were very, very obvious. It was not like a IFT RC passage. You still had to work your way through. You still had to look at the choices carefully. And hence, I would say if you have done something like 15 net correct answers in RC, it is going to be a good attempt. Out of these 10 questions, summary and odd statement were not difficult. But I'm sure even if you attempt all 3, you'll get at best 2 right. And summary also, by and large, people tend to, while some of you will get all 3 right, maybe about 2 would be right here. Out of the 4 parajumbles which are there without the choices, out of these 4, your attempt is likely to be 2 because a couple of them were difficult. And what the problem with parajumbles without choices is, while you may be able to say 2 and statement 2 and 4 have to be together, it does not help you to get to the answer till you crack the others also. So it's either it's a 0-1 situation. In the MCQs, parajumble, you can at least eliminate choices and come close to the answer. Here, that option is not there, and maybe 1 will be right. So when I'm looking at this usage part, I'll say 5 out of 10 is definitely on for most of you. Some of you may go to 7 out of 10 in terms of correct answers, and something like 15 net correct answers here. So 15 in 7, 20, 22, 60, 65 was a score which is achievable in this particular section. DILR. Okay. The set which would have been difficult, the place where you would have wasted time in this paper. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, as I said, this paper of DILR required you to choose your sets carefully. If you don't choose the sets carefully, you will end up with something which you don't want, and your attempts could be low. And this was the case in the morning slot also. Both the slots have given papers of DILR in which 2 DI and 2 LR are doable. Most of the people do 3 out of those 4 and then struggle to get the 4th or the 5th one. Some people have done all 4, very few have done 5, and hardly anyone has done 6. While in the morning slot, I've come across a few people who have done 6, but by and large, it seems to be 3 to 4 sets is what people have done. So when I'm looking at these 3 sets to 4 sets to 5 sets, the jump in percentile will be huge. Someone who's done almost all 5 sets right could end up with a 99 odd percentile. 4 sets right could be about a 95. 3 sets right would be about 85. So this is the kind of jump. The percentiles in DILR will jump significantly with every set, and from 4 to 5, to me, it is a critical one. This is sufficient to clear the cutoff. This is required to get a decent score. This is required to max your score. But was it possible to go to 6 sets and 24 questions? Yes, it was. but it was not easy. You needed to be very good in LR to be able to do 6 sets of DI LR out here. Okay. Quant, the breakup is there, but more than the breakup, I'm sure you would have realized that most of the questions were not difficult. Interestingly, the data suggests that some questions were common in the morning and evening slot, though that they were twisted a little. While for example in morning slot there was a question on the surface on the area of the walls and the floor, a similar question came in the second slot, but in the morning slot they had asked for the height of the room, in the evening slot they had asked for the surface area of the floor. Okay, so similar question. So what that means is, from your point of view, that both the slots are almost the same in terms of degree of difficulty, in terms of kind of questions, so normalization will not be an issue. By and large, we had buried the ghost of normalization last year when the normalization did not create chaos. Last year, CAT’15 was the worst in terms of normalization. This year, again, it should be much better in terms of normalization, because now the paper is in 2 slots and each paper is being taken by about 1 lakh candidates. Okay, and both the papers are almost similar. So when you look at normalization, it is going to be fairly accurate, and my guess is the scores will not change. The raw scores will not change significantly with normalization. It could be your scores could, if your score is X, it could become X plus minus 1 or 1.5 after normalization. Okay, so one slot will get extra, another slot will go down, but it's going to be 1 to 1.5 marks only. I don't see that as an issue. As I said, out of these 34 questions of Quant, there were about 6 to 8 questions which were on the difficult side, and the large number of non-MCQs meant that you could not substitute choices. Otherwise, in the non-MCQ, in the MCQ, you could use the choices comfortably. Few questions you could just apply the calculator and get the answers also, and I'm sure some of you would have done that. Okay. The calculator was in any case very easy to use as far as I am concerned. Okay. Cutoffs. This is what our estimate is. We think that when you look at verbal RC, there are 38 to 40 marks would be 85 percentile, and similarly Quant it would be about 40 to 42. So that means if you have about 13 net correct answers in Quant and verbal, you are possibly safe. 13 to 14 net correct answers, you are possibly safe. 38 to 40 marks. DILR, those many of you seem to be worried about the lower attempts. We think the cutoff could be as low as 25, maybe closer to 27, 28. So 25 to 27 is the kind of range, and this effectively means 3 sets of data, which means if you attempt 12 questions and get 9 right, it becomes something like a 25 score, 24, 25. Attempt 12 and get 10 right, it becomes about 28. So DILR is likely to be about 25, 27, 28 in terms of cutoff, and and the 90 percentile could be about 30 to 32. Okay, so the cutoff obviously could go up or down by a couple of marks here or there, but by and large, if you have done 3 sets of data with good accuracy, you have a good chance of clearing the cutoff. Okay. Okay. And Quant similarly, 40 to 42. The more important thing is, once you have this or this score, because some institutes, depending upon the category, will have a cutoff of 85%, some will have a 90 percentile. By most of the time it is 85 percentile, which is the cutoff for IIMs. But overall score, this is the kind of thing we are looking at. In CAT’15, 99.5 percentile was at a score of about 210, and this was at a score of about 190. So we expect the scores to come down a little in terms of percentile. And why are they coming down? Again, the same thing. A slightly more difficult paper, larger number of non-MCQs, and the thing is you cannot use your time saved in verbal and DILR in Quant or any other area. So last year you had that advantage which allowed you to get those 20 odd extra marks. Okay. Okay. What I'll do is now I'll hand over the mic to Gautam, Bava and Shivku, who have taken the paper in this slot, and possibly they can add a little bit more to whatever I have said in the 3 sections. Okay. Okay. Over to you, Gautam.
Yeah, thanks. Just continuing from what GP sir was saying, let's go into the first section actually. I probably want to start with the verbal and RC section. So one thing that you would note in the verbal and RC section, actually, I don't know how many of you all actually went ahead and read the instructions that were given. The instructions today in the paper were wrong. It was clearly stated that each of the RC questions will have 4 questions accompanying them, and the LR and DI sets would have 2 to 4 questions accompanying them. So I hope you all did not get confused when you started attempting the paper, because for a second I did. So luckily I went ahead and we used GP's age-old trick of going through the entire question paper, and that made it very clear that it was still 3 questions and 6 questions in the RC. So that kind of clarified things there. So that was one thing. Second thing to note is, in the RC section, actually, it wasn't difficult, but there were a couple of questions that were a little iffy, especially questions where they were asking you the central meaning of the passage, or what the author is actually trying to say. There were a couple of questions and a couple of options there which were quite similar, and you could have actually gone the wrong way. So hopefully you all will be logging in soon to find out what the correct answer according to us is there. One thing that I noticed actually when it came to parajumbles and the parajumble odd sentence out is, I personally felt that one of the parajumbles should have been the parajumble odd sentence out, and one of the parajumble odd sentence out should have been a parajumble. Because very clearly the parajumble odd sentence out, I went ahead and I made it a 5-sentence parajumble, and I was about to type in the answer when I realized the question is saying find the odd one out. So that kind of confused me for a second. Overall, going by what GP has said, I would say it's quite similar. Verbal was on the easy side. Attempts of roughly 26 to 28 would be perfect in this section, and should generally, an accuracy of around 80 to 85% there should see you sail through with about 90 plus as a percentile in that section. This is the more interesting part actually. DI and LR, the tendency has been, a couple of us, even students, when they walked out, everybody was like, yeah, 4 sets ho jate hain, 4 sets are easy to do. But slowly when you start recapitulating what the paper was all about, you end up realizing that 4 sets is perhaps kind of like an optimum and not really a minimum. So one thing to realize here is that the table on, the question on this table on assets and this drugs, which was the last set in DI, which was actually a non-MCQ, they weren't very simple. So, a person would have actually ended up spending quite a bit of time here, because substitution or choices wouldn't have helped you either. On the other hand, when you go to the LR section, this auction question, it turns out to be very difficult, especially because it was because of the fact that the options were also quite close together. One thing, however, that you could have done in this auction set is go ahead and kind of read through the 7 points that had been specified, and it would have been very clear to you as to exactly which auction. So one thing to notice here was there were 3 people, so A, B, C, if I can call them. You would have easily realized that one of the auctions is not being won by anybody, whereas the other 6 are being won by somebody or the other, and one has the highest, another has the lowest, which automatically meant that there was no tie. So somebody was winning 1, somebody 2, and somebody 3. And then the fact that somebody is ending up spending 4,000 rupees and another person ending up spending 5,500 made it very clear that the person having 1 is the one with 4,000 and the one with 2 has 5,500. So that is one set which was actually difficult. However, you could have probably gone ahead and had you spent a couple of minutes there, probably 5-7 minutes, you could have probably gone ahead and answered this question. This scheduling question on professors was very, very difficult. One that, during your exam, it was best left not touched or not attempted at all. Let's look at the last section, which is the quant section. Here, one thing if you realize is that quant overall was quite a easy section. However, if we have to compare it to 2014, it was not as simple as it was last year. There were last year you could say that, there were no questions from level 3. This year I would say that there were about 6 to 8 questions which were tending towards level 3, level 2, more difficult than level 2, but perhaps a little easier than level 3. So in this section, while we go ahead and we say that 26 to 28 would be good attempts, I personally have a feeling that if you've ended up attempting somewhere around 22 with say about 90% accuracy, you would have probably performed quite well in this section, because it's not as simple as it appears on the face of it. Also, one thing to note is that the fact that there are non-MCQ questions will automatically bring things down because substitution does not work. And as usual in the quant section, you always get questions wherein the English is a little misleading. So I hope not many of you went into the nitty-gritties of the English in the questions, like I did actually in one of the questions. So yeah, that's perhaps something that you could have avoided. I'll probably hand over the mic now to so let's see a couple of questions here. If there are any specific questions that we have.
Some of them are got repeated. Circle chords wala.
Just one sec.
Circle with two chords, distance. One is repeated from all time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so as GP was pointing out, there were a couple of questions, that you might have seen that had been repeated from previous CAT questions. Okay, so I just want to see, if there are any particular Q&A. Yeah, so I have attempted 61, 28 VRC, 19 LRDI, 20 QA, expect 26 to 27 correct in VRC. That's some brilliant accuracy there. 16 to 18 in LRDI is also good accuracy, and about 15 in QA. What are my prospects if my analysis regarding my... I would say if your analysis regarding your attempt accuracy is correct, QA might be a little on the lower side because it comes out to be a net score of around 40, whereas LRDI and VRC are kind of spectacular. QA, yeah, it will be kind of touch and go whether you'll reach the 85 percentile or not. Expecting 100 to 110 raw score in CAT, what will be the percentile? Yeah, so if I go back to this slide, wherein we were kind of predicting what the percentile would be, I would say a score of 100 to 110. Yeah, perhaps it would be somewhere around 87, 88, a little lower than 90 percentile for sure. I have attempted 18 questions with 80% accuracy in QA, VARC, 24 with 90% accuracy, LRDI 18 attempted, 80% accuracy. Is it a good attempt? Well, the accuracy in LRDI seems to be legit and good. VARC accuracy seems spectacular. Quant accuracy is good as well. One thing that might actually happen is your net score in quant would be a little on the lower side. You would be looking at somewhere around 42, 43. So yeah, you'll perhaps clear the sectional cutoff of 85 percentile. But yeah, that is not the section in which you will end up maximizing. Overall, yeah, you could probably look at a 95. Okay, yeah, I'll just give the mic to GP once.
Okay, just a small interruption. The morning slot, in the morning slot, we have been able to recreate the CAT question paper with the help of the students, and it is now available in the CAT score calculator. Okay. Now the same thing is being done for your slot also. Many students are posting questions, and we are trying to just collate it into a single question paper so that you can have a very good idea of what your score is. So what we are doing is effectively having the question and the correct answer choice so that you can say, okay, this is the answer choice which I have marked or not marked, and you will be able to get. Now for the morning slot, the CAT score calculator is live. For evening slot, the evening slot, it should be live by about midnight. Okay, maybe by 10:30, 11, but definitely by midnight. Till then, you can just put your estimates and get your estimated percentile. But after that, you should definitely go to the score calculator and also make sure you are able to you enter your entire details so that you can get you can get your exact score, and based on that, we'll be able to give you a much better estimate of your percentile. So don't forget to fill up the score calculator. Okay, yeah, back to Gautam.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, as GP pointed out, you all should go ahead and probably check it out. If there's somebody here from slot 1, you can probably go ahead and do it straight away. From slot 2, yeah, give us a couple of hours or so, and hopefully we'll be able to recreate quite a bit of the paper. Coming back to, some of the questions that you all had pointed out. LRDI was tough, expected cutoff. Yeah, as you pointed out, LRDI, we would say around an 85 percentile would be, somewhere around 38 to 40 marks. 25 to 27 marks, which means about net correct of about, 9 to 10 would mean that you kind of cleared the sectional cutoff at least. We'll get around 40 in verbal, 55 in quant. LRDI will get around 35, 40, sufficient to get a 90 plus. Sadly, no, that will be a little difficult. Overall, while you might end up getting around 120 and a 19, the sad part is probably the sectionals would not be made. Because it will be kind of touch and go for verbal, whereas quant, it will be difficult to clear the sectional with around 35. Any more questions on, your expected percentile? I'd probably advise you all to have a look at the table that we've provided here. You can also start putting in your estimates because that is ready. Just one sec. Trying to see if there are any more questions here that need answering. Yeah, I guess that's more or less it. Probably. Percentiles go for 160, 180. Yeah, you're doing well. Don't worry. 160. You should be looking at around a 98 plus for sure. And 180. Yeah, don't worry. You can expect calls from the high ends. Attempted 26 in VARC, DLR. Okay. Again, just have a look at the table that we've provided. It should help you there. Which colleges to apply to? Well, you're looking at about 28 in VA, 8 in LRDI, 22. You should basically be looking at colleges, where there'll be no sectional cutoffs. However, we'll also be coming out with the call predictor quite soon. So you'll have a very clear-cut idea of which colleges to expect a call from based on the score that you've gotten. Give us a day or so and that will be live, so that should give you a very clear-cut idea there. However, currently, considering that, you're expecting around 8 in LRDI, sectional cutoff might be a little difficult, so you need to look at colleges according to that. Another thing that you should probably keep in mind is when you go ahead and you check the scores that you are expecting, whether it is on your rough estimate or whether it is after we've recreated the paper, don't be disheartened. And if you see that probably CAT didn't work out, it's absolutely not an issue. You still have SNAP and ZAT to go, so ensure that your preparation for SNAP and ZAT gets underway ASAP. And for those who see that you've performed quite well and you're 95 plus for sure, well, PDP should start immediately, because converting is not going to be an easy thing. The ratio of calls is always 1:4, 1:5. So yeah, you should also be looking at what after CAT rather than just knowing the kind of score that you're getting. Again, another question on the kind of attempts that you have put in. My suggestion is, once again, just look at the table that we have provided here very clearly. Use this table to get a rough indicator of what you might end up scoring, and to get the actual estimate of what you will end up with, just give us a couple of hours and we would hopefully be able to recreate the entire paper. One thing that I'm noticing here is that most of you all have quite decent accuracy, so that should kind of hold you in good stead even if your number of attempts is on the lower side. So do keep that in mind. Ended the paper. This showed how many questions I attempted, how many were marked for review, etc. Do they include the answered but marked for review amongst the attempted while showing that snapshot, or are these separate? Well, I did not really pay much heed to that, but I have a feeling that it would not be separate because all the attempted, irrespective of whether it was marked or not marked, I think would have been clubbed together. I've attempted 26 in VRC, once again attempting. Expect 90, 20 or 24 in VRC. Some on angles of quadrilateral where thrice the smallest equals the largest. Yeah, so the smallest angle in that question was 45 degrees. Cutoff for MDI and SPGen. Okay, so MDI last year had lowered their cutoff because they started giving a little weightage to previous ACADS and profile. So the cutoff had gone quite low till about 94, and for HR it went even lower. So this year, if they continue to do something similar and your ACADS are good, then yeah, 94, 95 plus should hold you in good stead. However, if you feel your ACADS are probably not up to the mark, then 97 plus. SPGen, again, it's if it's a profile-based call, then you don't need to worry a lot. If it's not, then yeah, you need to be looking at a 97.5, 98 plus. Yeah, so quite a few of you all are again putting in your attempts and accuracy. I'd suggest just go back and have a look at the table, and that should help you. Where can we find the recreated paper? Well, you can go to our website www.careerlauncher.com/cat, and you'll be able to see the link as to where you can find the recreated paper. All you need to go is, just click whether your answer was correct, incorrect, or you did not attempt, and lo and behold, you'll know your exact scores, hopefully. Once again, a few more of you all, coming up with your attempts. Just have a look at the table alongside. It should help you. MDI, SPGen I've already answered. My profile, it is a CADS only. A workx of 3+ is also considered. Oh, for MDI, yeah, it was mostly a CADS, not a lot of weightage was given to workx. I attempted 65, but probably accuracy of 70 only. I am from SC category. Any chance of call? SC category, 65 attempts, 70% accuracy. Yeah, I think forget call. You have a very good chance of perhaps even converting. So probably get underway with your PDP preparations. Score needed for 95. Yeah, just have a look at the table we've provided here. Around 130, 135 should hold you in good stead for a 95. For VARC, particularly for 95, probably a 52 to 54. So net correct of about 18 should be around a 95 percentile. That's more or less it, I guess, with respect to questions. I'll just transfer it once to GP. Just give me a second.
One thing I missed mentioning, let me just mention here, which is about the students from reserve category. While these are the sectional cutoffs for 85 percentile for reserve category, which is OBC. Okay, let me say OBC, SC, and SG, and PWD candidates. So while these are the ones for general category, for OBC you could reduce this by about 3 marks. For SC candidates it should be reduced by about 6 marks, and for SG and PWD maybe about by 9 marks. So if you reduce each of these by 3, 6 or 9 marks, depending upon your category, you will get the sectional cutoffs for your category. Okay, and as Gautam has said, the overall percentiles are here, and 85 percentile plus OBC SC candidates should be expecting calls from IMs. 75 percentile to 75 to 80 percentile ST and PWD candidates should be expecting calls. OBC candidates about 95 percentile should be safe for most of you. Okay. Now, just to wind up the session, this CL exam guide is available. Please download it, and you can stay in touch with us in each of these areas for which is that SNAP, PDP, and subsequent processes. And yes, as Gautam said, the percentile predictor is there. The score calculator for slot 1 is live. Slot 1 score calculator is live. Slot 2 should be live by about midnight. Okay. As we keep getting questions, we'll recreate the paper and make it available to you so that you know exactly what we have done and what score you can expect. And that will also help us ensure we give you a better estimate of your percentiles. Okay. Okay. I think that's for the day. Thank you very much. All the best. Hopefully, we have been able to take care of your requirements. Thank you.